My name is Anonymous, and I'm a pastor. I should actually say I used to be a pastor because I don't deserve to be called by the title of pastor. I was a committed member of a good Christian church in Akure. In the year 1995, I had the urge to start a church of my own. When I thought about it, I would imagine large numbers of people that are my church members, and I would just see myself in charge of a big and busy church that is hugely successful. Things did not go the way I was thinking. I opened the church in 1995, but by 2005 I hadn't progressed much at all. What frustrated me was that the pastors that had churches that were 2 or 3 years old were flooded with members, but my church of 10 years had nothing going on and it was not growing. Spiritually, it was very poor, and even in terms of material things, it was lacking too much. I didn't have money to upgrade my life. I had even lost the car that I had. My own life was in poverty, and that poverty was spilling into the church because I couldn't get support for my ministry. It was just difficult to make it. My wife stuck with me through everything, and she stood by my side. My frustration grew until I decided to make connections and meet, greet, and socialize with other pastors that were doing better than myself. I talked to a pastor that had opened his church in 2002, but in 2007 his church had grown massively. My 10-year-old church barely had 100 members, but in 3 years he was in the thousands and growing fast. Money was flowing in, he had properties and huge cars. I explained to this pastor how dead my church was and how after 10 years I couldn't see any progress at all. He understood and agreed to help me boost my work. He asked how badly I wanted to set up the change, and I told him that I was very desperate. He said it would cost a certain amount of money and that I would need to be brave and strong. He asked if I was a strong person, and I said yes. He actually repeated the question a few times, asking if I was a strong person and that I wasn't a fearful person. I was so low in life that I wanted anything that would bring change. So I responded eagerly saying, yes, yes, I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm not fearful. He proceeded to explain that he'll get me into a process where you can pay money to get power. If you want a little bit of power, you have to pay a little bit. But if you want more power, you pay more money. He said the important thing to understand is that you have to maintain and renew the power accordingly and without fail. I got a bit scared when he mentioned renewal and maintenance because I thought that I might have to kill someone like my wife for a sacrifice. He assured me that there is nothing to that extreme, but whatever I have to do, I have to make sure that I do it, otherwise the power will go. I relaxed when I heard that I wouldn't have to kill anyone, so I thought anything else will be easy to do. I didn't have money, so I wanted to pay the entry fee, just to start. I borrowed the money from a friend of a friend, and after a week I confirmed that I do have the money. He said I must wait another week and we'll go to Abuja with the money. We traveled there after a week as he had said. When we got there, I was introduced to a pastor of a very big church. It was lavish and you could smell the money there. They put us in a dining area, and after a delicious meal, we were sent to our private quarters for the night. The pastor came back before midnight that same night and fetched us in one of his luxurious cars. I asked where we were headed to, but both the pastor I came with and the new pastor said I would see when we got there. We went to yet another rich pastor that lived in an area not too far from where we were picked up. This pastor had a luxurious mansion and we were let in. The pastor I had initially come with took the money from me and gave it to the owner of the mansion. Not much talking was done. We were then led through to the back area of the house, and there was a large swimming pool. When I looked at it, it gave me an impression of a lake, but obviously it was at the back of a house, so it was a pool. The water wasn't really as clear as that of a usual swimming pool, so I couldn't see inside the pool, even though all the lights were turned on in the yard. As we stood there, the owner of the house did some incantations that I couldn't really make out. He then turned to me and said that whatever happens, I shouldn't be scared. Suddenly, a woman appeared from the water. It was a mermaid, because as she surfaced, I saw the bottom fish part. I thought she was coming out to hand me some lucky charm or bottle of something, but she actually asked me to sleep with her. I had to do that in the presence of both pastors, and afterwards she drew some of her juices from her private part and put a sign of a cross on my head. The cross was a sign that I was already empowered by her. She then gave me a gold chain and a gold ring, hugged the other two pastors, took some money from them, and went back into the water. After all that, we went back to where we were staying, leaving the mansion. The next day, we traveled back to Akura because the pastor said we had done everything that we had to do in Abuja. I didn't actually believe that I had already accessed the powers because I didn't know how long a period I had to wait. When I got home, my first night that I stayed at home, the mermaid that I had slept with came and visited me in the dream, and she told me that in order to maintain and renew my power, I have to sleep with a virgin once every month. I couldn't believe this, and I couldn't understand how I was going to get them virgins every month. So I spoke to the pastor that took me to Abuja, and he said that it's easier than I thought. He said he can also help me get these girls. He said that these people are available, and there's even agencies that can help you access these girls easily, but they need to be paid. So I must be prepared that if I can't get my own virgins, then I would have to pay for the people to get me one. That pastor said to me that the mermaid spirit was actually stage 1 and that stage 2 would happen at his place. He invited me to his house where he was introducing me to another woman, but this woman was weird. I could see her and then I couldn't see her. Suddenly she was there and then suddenly she would disappear, but I'll still hear her voice when she disappeared. She was a human, but she was more of a ghost as well. Anyway, I had to do the deed with her, and after we were done, she gave me 3 bottles of oil and a bar of black soap. The first bottle of oil is for keeping in my church office drawer for crowd pulling. The second bottle of oil, I had to speak into it before I entered the church, and then I could use the oil to make crosses on the church members. For miracles to take place, I had to do this each time before I take on a service. The third bottle of oil was to slay church members during prayer, and the bar of soap was for those who wanted to cleanse themselves. They could come to my house and consult and then bath using the black soap. This woman said that when I sleep with virgins and married women, I must go straight into church to minister before the people without having taken a bath. I was told never to tell anyone about anything that we had done or places that we had gone to with the pastor. I promised him that I wouldn't tell anyone. He also said I must stop preaching about holiness and going to heaven, and that I must preach about prosperity and give motivational preachings instead of preachings that are full of the word of God. I promised that I would do as he says. Sunday came and I didn't expect what I saw. Things had definitely changed for the better. Miracles were happening. I just had to lift up my hands upon the church and everybody would fall down. I would minister to the people about prosperity and they would bring money. Money was coming in from all over. My prosperity had been activated. Things went from good to better, from better to the best. I started buying luxurious cars. I started buying properties, and I made a big name for myself. I gained a lot of respect from a lot of different people, and my life was definitely elevated. So from 2005, I've lived a lavish lifestyle like all the other pastors and bishops that I usually see. I have maintained the agreement, and I renew it all the time by doing the deed with virgins and married women. As lavish as everything may sound, here is the truth. For the past year or so, I have not been happy. Romans 6 verse 23 keeps on playing over and over again on my mind. For the wages of sin is death. I can no longer ignore the truth of God. I feel guilty every day because I know that this is not the path of salvation. Because my heart is no longer in it, it's becoming even more difficult to find women and girls that can be targets. During the past year, it's been on and off. Some months I wasn't able to do the deed because I just wasn't able to get the girls or married women. In months where I couldn't get any girl, the power decreased, but if I did, then it would come back up again and increase a little bit. If not, the money goes. The cars start breaking down. Something goes wrong with a property that I own. So things go wrong if I don't do the deed with these virgins, or at least married women. Actually, I don't really care about the power decreasing or even finishing off because I just want to get out. I tried to speak to the pastor that initiated me, but he says that it's too late. There's no way out. He said you don't connect with the mermaid spirit and think you can just break off the agreements just like that. He also said that you can't get out of this type of agreement and then still stay alive. So what might happen is that if I break off the agreement, then I would have to die a mysterious type of death. I'm at a painful stage of my life where I want to preach the truth. I've been preaching lies all the time, and now I want to preach the truth. But now, instead of being given the opportunity to preach the truth, I might die for wanting to preach the truth. I don't know what to do because I don't want to die, but I also don't want to carry on with this. I don't want this world of darkness in my life anymore. Deep inside my heart of hearts, I feel like I would rather die than carry on with this, knowing that I will perish in the end. I would much rather die having confessed my sin to Christ than carrying on like this, knowing that I'll perish and go into eternal suffering. I just wish I knew if God will have mercy on me and allow me to live to preach His word one more time.